Hey, what's up? I'm Guy.
I'm John.
This is our YouTube channel. Subscribe to this channel and give this video a like. Thank you.
Yep. Podcast below in the description. Get on it. Subscribe as well.
We got to admit this before we get into this video. We're both Lincoln Riley, Oklahoma fans. Not like
Boomer Sooner.
dyed and true blue or whatever, but yeah, when the schooner flipped, we went, no. No, but we're big fans of Lincoln Riley. We're watching the Cotton Bowl, John. There's 10 minutes left in the game. It's 48-13. So as you're watching this, you know the final score. And it might be bigger than that. But we've talked since week 1 of the NFL season about Mike McCarthy and the Dallas Cowboys. And it's been repeated that he's not going anywhere. But if you're Jerry Jones and you're watching this game, you have to be thinking one thing. This guy, not only is he better than the guy I got, every week, by the way, Rodgers goes on like McAfee show and says something about how much sweeter his offense is this year than 2 years ago. Have you noticed that?
You know, the other problem, too, is like McCarthy's winning these games that don't even matter. He's like playing C.J. Beathard, and he's beating these crappy teams. He's going to beat the Giants this week. His record's going to look pretty good. His season was a disaster. God, he might make the playoffs. He might make the playoffs.
Well, this guy.
It'd be like Tom Sula or Freddie Kitchens that just fell into the playoffs on a given. I mean, it's insane. In no other year, it's nuts. Mike McCarthy's going to the playoffs.
It's very good for Tom Brady and the Bucs, whoever they end up playing, because that's who they're playing, the winner of the NFC East. But this guy, Lincoln Riley, he's got such a great job that you have to have a great job to offer him to get him away from Oklahoma. And can't the Cowboys be that?
Well, to me, when you get a guy who's I'm from California, but consider Texas just that over through the South, through Florida. Like, I just don't think that they're leaving when you have a job like Oklahoma for the Lions, for jobs like that. Like, to me, it's just the Cowboys or maybe the Saints. I don't even know, like, without Breeze and Peyton are they're that cool. Cowboys on a completely different level. I would just be calling this guy every single year if I'm Jerry and Steven and offering him, I don't know, 50. The money is not just like, we want you to be the coach of the Cowboys, Lincoln. We want you, because it's not about money. He makes enormous money. So it's not going to be like, make him an offer he can't refuse. They already do that with every offer they offer people. These guys make player money now. So to me, it's more about like, I know that he's gone there. He's taking his son on a recruiting trip. Thought he might have walked on there, but one of the things for if I'm Steven
Jones' son.
Yeah, my relationship with Lincoln, I try to become his friend. Because I want this guy. If I can't get him this year, like every year, I'm constantly. I wouldn't even call McCarthy a marriage. We're just kind of stuck in the same house right now. We don't like each other. See each other at dinner sometimes, give each other a nod, and then go back into our wings in the home. But like Jerry and Steven, they can't really pivot. You can't just fire Mike. So here's what I do agree. You just for nobody. Like, to me, you can't fire him for like Eric Bieniemy
with no idea of what you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah. To me, you get Urban Meyer, you get Lincoln Riley, not Urban, or you get Urban Meyer, but Lincoln Riley specifically. I think it would just be a home run. A little bit like you're doing what Mark Davis always said he would do with John Gruden. No matter who was my coach, I was going to fire him immediately once John told me yes.
Right.
Now, it is not going well, and he hired the wrong guy. But if you have the right guy, isn't that mindset the right thing to do? Because there is not a more important person in your building, in my opinion, than the I guess maybe the quarterback, but the head coach.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, the head coach can have, if you're doing it right, can have a longer career than your quarterback. He's the one that picks the quarterback. So in order to get the quarterback, in theory, you got to have the coach. Now, maybe it's your GM, whatever. But yeah, man. I mean, I think the other thing with the Cowboys is like as they are one of those rare brands, right? That they could have 5 straight 6-win seasons, and it would still be about when are the Cowboys going to win a championship again. But the conversation with them has not been about that in a long, long time. Like, the fact is, what their culture and what their program really is not anywhere near to the standard of what their brand is. They haven't won a playoff game since they won the Super Bowl.
They haven't been in the NFC Championship game since the mid-'90s.
Well, I guess maybe they have won a playoff game since they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, they beat Detroit.
Yeah, okay. But it's been a lot of bad, John.
Yeah.
They definitely haven't been in the conference championship game
since they won
the Super Bowl.
So that means they haven't sniffed a Super Bowl.
And the Super Bowl was, for those of you watching this YouTube who are about to watch this and then plop over to some other kid who's got 8 billion views, was in 1995, before some of you were born, maybe.
Yeah.
If you're,
YouTube
again,
didn't exist.
If you're a YouTube star watching this video, you weren't born yet. All the people making $1 billion on YouTube were not born yet the last time the Cowboys won the Super Bowl.
When they were going to the Super Bowl, there was such a thing called the White House that the players had with cocaine and hookers and strippers, and it was normal. Think about in 2020. Can you imagine? It's one like James Harden gets a hard time for going to strip clubs. Imagine if he just had a home.
Dwayne Haskins was at his girlfriend's birthday party. I mean, without a
got in
mask,
trouble.
I guess it's different, but
Yeah, but I mean,
nonetheless,
just women and cocaine, and you call it the White House. Like, hey, party at the White House tonight. I mean, it was just you winning rings.
I'm just saying this guy has established. Now, look, Bob Stoops had established Oklahoma culture, but I look at him in the same way that, you know, you look at on a smaller scale, right, what happened at Boise State, where they changed coaches, the culture remained the same. Like, there was clearly a culture here, and Bob Stoops gets some credit for that. But Lincoln Riley's taken it to the next level.
Yeah.
With everything he does, not just his football winning, not just his recruiting, from his willingness to clearly, you know, he's unique, right? Because he's clearly got this willingness to participate in all of the things that you have to do when you're a college coach to try and make your program cool, right? You make sweet videos for recruiting, and he participates in all that stuff. But he's also clearly a very serious football coach.
You know what it's a much higher level version of? The Stoops to Lincoln is what Bellotti to Chip was. Obviously, Stoops was much more accomplished than Bellotti had won a national championship. But Oregon was a really good program. Then Chip came and kind of revolutionized it. But Lincoln's, to me, a more total package of Chip than Chip, right? He's easier to deal with. People like him a lot. Everyone is just like, his character and just the way he operates, there's just no question, right? It's like he's got a family.
He checks
he's just
every
normal.
box. Yeah.
I think every year for the foreseeable future, and in sports like in life, things can change fast, but it's pretty hard. You just go based on track record. Oklahoma's not really up and down. Like, it's just how high up are they, right? Like this, and this is Corona. I'd argue this year, beside like Clemson and Alabama are going to play each other anyway. But this year, just on the whole, I just red flag it all. I mean, Oklahoma had one of the worst seasons in recent memory. Remember, I forwarded you a text. It was the first time they had lost back-to-back games in like 20 years.
Just like at the beginning of the year, yeah.
Yeah, that's just we just hadn't had a 2-game losing streak. And how long? Yeah, since like the 90s. So what? You know, I mean, they play like 13 games a year. Just think about that. Like, that's their standard. I always say, like, when people operate like Texas should just be this revolutionary program all the time. I always push back and go, you got the wrong program in that conference. We're in our mid-30s. Oklahoma in our lifetime, as a whole, from start to finish, runs circles around them, guy. Yeah. They're maintaining it. They're level. They've only had 2 guys. And part of it is they got a little bit of a Pittsburgh Steeler feel to it, right? Where they just it feels like if Lincoln wants, he'll be there as long as Stoops was. And that's with the Cowboys. They've kind of got into this. It's a weird way to say stepping stone job, because in the pros it's not. In the pros, if you just miss, you're just going through them a lot. And they just kind of feels like they held on to Jason longer than they should have just because they loved him. But really, Jason was probably like a 5-year guy, not a 7. And they missed on Wade Phillips stunk. Like, Parcells, but they had Parcells when he was really old. You know, they're in a weird spot.
Yeah. Yeah, they are. They are. And
their
I
guy's
think
not good enough in the NFC, guy. That's the other problem.
Their guy's not good enough in the NFC. What do you mean?
Yeah, you just look at Kyle, McVay, when he gets his quarterback. Sean Payton's not going anywhere. Now that Matt Rule's there, like, I'd take Matt Rule over Mike McCarthy, and I don't even know if Matt Rule's that good.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, it's a good point.
They do benefit from a pretty. It's not like could you see the NFCs just be doing well next year? I mean,
no,
the division's kind of matters a little.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. They could change one of the. If Doug Peterson gets fired, they might get a new coach. Whether he deserves that's a different conversation. But obviously, Ron Rivera's just a solid. Like, you can't roll out of bed, be a slappy program and beat Ron Rivera twice a year, and his team isn't that offensively. They've got all kind of quarterback issues this year, and they still might win 7 games, maybe. But I think the problem, like, Lincoln's 37, and here he is dominating again. And I think when a program's in the position that he's in, it's easy to say, well, Maybe after he wins a championship, then maybe he'll be ready to move on. If he wins a national championship at Oklahoma, because that would be a significant step given the struggles they've had in the college football playoff. But like to me, that's not when you leave. You don't leave when you put in all this work, because there is clearly another level they have to get to, right, to win a national championship. You put in all that work, like you don't just walk away from that because you won a ring.
If he ever got to the national championship level where they actually won a guy,
he might
then get a higher level of player. Why couldn't he rattle off like a Clemson level?
To me, that's you got to get him before he wins a championship, because then
Dabo and Nick ain't going anywhere, right? Got it too good, and Lincoln has it good right now. That's where I'm saying money is not going to do it. It's going to be a relationship with him. It's just not going to do it. Like, would Pete Carroll truly ever have left if shit didn't kind of hit the fan at SC? He had it pretty good. You know, the one thing is he wasn't an NFL guy,
coach.
So it's a little different. But I think we'd all agree that Pete had a pretty special thing in SC. And if it wasn't hitting the fan, he could have had that job for another 15 years. They would have paid him handsomely. In college, once you got it good, and once you kind of corner the market on weight, we get to draft the equivalent of like every one of our recruits, the top 5 pick coming out of high school. Like, you can't lose this way. We don't have second round picks. We don't lose. That's where Lincoln. I bet tonight he realizes like we're close, right?
I mean, dominant. Now again, Florida was not Florida,
but still, you could tell the speed. Like
they. Here's the other thing: is like there are some coaches when you watch them talk, you can tell that all the changes that are coming and happening in college football bother them a lot. Transfer portal, immediate eligibility, name, image, and likeness, players being able to benefit from it financially, making money, the sport is really changing quickly. And there are some guys you can tell it where, like Dabo doesn't like it. I watch Lincoln talk a lot. I know you do too. It does not seem to, if it bothers him, he doesn't show it. It does not seem to affect him at all. So
easier for him, and he hasn't built an advantage. He's a little newer to it, right? He hasn't been coaching for 20 years.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like a coordinator, like he was just coming up in his late 20s.
Yeah, this is the way it's always been. Yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, Saban can go like, well, in the 90s, I liked it a little bit better when we did this. Like Lincoln, who cares?
Plus, you're at Oklahoma. You'll figure it out. It'll work.
Are there 5 jobs better in Oklahoma in the country?
I mean, like, is Alabama a better job?
Well, I had an NFL exec tell me it's a great job when you're Nick Saban and you're going to the national championship every year. It is not a good job when you're going 10-2, when you're going 9-3 and you're losing to Auburn. Nick's had a couple of those, but no one blinks an eye,
right?
Because he built up so much equity. It's difficult. Like, you already feel like the SEC has pressure that's like the NFL. I don't think the other conferences are quite. Even Oklahoma and Ohio State are really high. There is something like, is Kirby the guy? Are we sure Kirby? Like, that's already out. You know,
Ed Orgeron has to prove it again next year.
Like, you know, Dan, wait, we don't have a better guy than Oklahoma has? Like, we like this guy, you know? It comes fast. It just, you know, like, I think Lane's a good example. Like, it's all fun and games. I say the first year they were going to, his record didn't matter, be fun. By next year, like, is he 7-5 or is he 5-7? You know, it's like, okay, wait.
Remember Mike Leach? Was it week 1? Mike Leach, they looked incredible.
Yeah, Costello, they beat LSU. And he threw 4. Remember, he threw for 700 yards or something.
You know, I was watching a college basketball game a week or two ago. You were watching the same game, I think. We were texting about the Gonzaga game. Who were they playing that night? They came back and won. But regardless, Jay Billis was doing the game, and he was talking about Mark Few, and he's like, you know, Mark Few just reached a point where he realized why am I chasing happier than happy? And to me, the relationship would be great. If Lincoln Riley, like, deep in his gut, doesn't wonder, like, am I an NFL coach? If there's not something about him that loves the NFL and wants to be an NFL coach, my advice to him would be stay. Like, again, I would love to see him in the NFL. I'd love the Cowboys to try and go get him. But if you don't have that, like, need to prove it in the NFL, this job is not, at this rate, the way he's going, at his age, the success they're having.
When I close my eyes and envision Lincoln Riley ever coming to the NFL, the only place I can see him is a Cowboy. So,
yeah,
I think he'll be a Cowboy coach in the next 15, 20 years. Like, if he's going to take a shot, and he will one day, because he's so young, guy. Unlike even Dabo was like in his 50s, right? Nick was really old. He could go on a run, or win like 3 or 4, and still look and be like, God, he's 46.
Could. I know.
It's like it could be one of those where it's like, well, am I just gonna win that? It's just he's got a little more, a longer kind of a runway to go.
For sure. Looks good right now, though.
Hell yeah, he does.